What a day, what a day. It's not even over. Holy fuck. I'm not sure if I'm in like a warm, cozy afterglow of my like signs and synchronicity, or if I'm like a deer in the headlights. In a good way. Holy fuck. So this morning I was like asking my team, I was like, if you guys want me gone from here, like, why aren't I guided to write an email or text or even call the landlord? And it was like, you'll see. Okay. And then I went outside and I made that video of the land here. And I love it here. It's beautiful. It's like fucking, it's my heaven on earth right now. And I was saying to my angels, I was like, yeah, go ahead. I was saying, like, it's okay if you want me to stay. Like, I will. Like, free will and divine will, it's two different things. I have free will and I live by divine will. I don't feel like explaining that. If you need that, that's a separate video, and I believe Soothe the Glitch has one. I don't remember if it's called that, but yeah, he's got one, and a lot of people do. And I was all like in love with the land, and it's so beautiful, and you know, and I'm saying like, it's okay if you want me to stay, like, I can survive another winter, it's okay. And then not long after, when I came in, I had hot water issues, so I had to communicate with my landlord yesterday, and basically he recommunicated today, you know, making sure everything was okay. And then background story, I don't know if I've ever told it. My landlord is an 84-year-old man. His name's John. He's really cool. He is, like he says, he's very linear. He likes me because I am so fucking strange and weird, and he's never known anybody like me. So he's like an angel sent to help me in different ways. And because John is 84 years old, I can't say that I bring out the child in him, but I push the boundaries of his imagination with how I speak, because I speak the same way to everybody, the way that I do to you guys. It's just how I am. So when I moved in here in November or October, whatever, it doesn't matter, we had 3 distinct separate conversations, John and I, where I just knew something was going to happen with fire, to the point where I was very careful, like even more careful than I would be in any other circumstance, thinking that spidey sense is up at all times, always make sure everything's off, double check in case the fire's here. And I remember asking my angels, like, is it something I need to speak to him about? And I was always told no, but that I must be aware of the fire. Okay. I forget what day in January. I think it was the day before my birthday, January 6th. He didn't know my birthday. I mean, if he did, whatever. He's my landlord. He and I had a communication, and he poured out his heart to me of how his favorite house, his summer place that's winterized, you know, his favorite home burned down. And it's just near here, down the road, like around the bend, at the other end of the bay. And I remember when he, it was a good thing that we were having the communication by text when he, was telling me that his favorite home burned down to the ground, to the point where the mantle for the fireplace, um, the rocks and stones and things that had been used, those weren't even salvageable. Um, and I remember when he told me, like, I started to cry because I felt bad because I wasn't allowed to tell him. And that's the thing, when you know things or have visions and stuff, it can be really hard to handle when things come true that you couldn't warn somebody about. Um, but that's another story. So it was, like, I was glad it was not face to face conversation because he was already grieving enough. John is an investor. He built himself up from the ground up. And basically, he buys properties and then either, like, he's got a lot of stuff. But in all our conversations we ever had, the house in Wassy was his favorite home. And I always knew that. And, we became closer for the fact that, like he said, like, I have nobody to talk to about this. Um, it's kind of poor, pitiful me for somebody with money to be, like, crying and so upset about one place. And I was there to soothe him in, like, it's okay to feel like this, John. I know it was your most important, specialist place. It was your happy place. And I understand that, that you don't have anyone to talk about this to, and I'm here for you. And, yeah, like he said, he had trouble dealing with the fact that his favorite place at his age burned down, and that that's where, he wanted to be all the time. And that the reason right now that he's not there already is that his wife, partner since forever, has dementia. And if he wanted to move here and bring her here, he wouldn't be able to have the things that he has available to him by living near Toronto area, down south is what we call that. And also, one of the things that we have in common is that I'm only 47, but I've lost my 3 closest friends already in my life. Those people that I could say anything to, no matter how whacked. I've already lost them in my life, and I've never found anyone else to replace those people. They are there with me, but I don't have a human bond with anyone in the last 10 years because my 3 closest friends have passed. So that's one of the things that we have in common is, like, you know, he's 84 years old, so he's lost, like, and I'm not talking about knowing that people are there and all that stuff. And like I said, he's very linear. Me telling him that his, best friends are right by his side is not what he's ready to hear at this point. That's not what I'm there for. So, yeah. When he communicated with me this morning, he said, that his wife is deteriorating every day. And I already know this. I can feel it. And that he's also having not trouble. Well, yeah, he's having trouble with the insurance claim. And that no matter what, it won't be resolved fast enough to rebuild this summer. And so he said straight up, like, are you going to be there until, like, after June? And I don't think I can even let you be there, Michelle. I think I need the place for myself and my family when we want to be in Calendar. And that was like, boom. That's why I had to wait. And thank you for the confirmation that, yes, the universe is making this happen for me, whether I want to attach and, like, be chicken shit and not, like, fucking take a leap of faith and, like, not and push it off. I must. I already did, but I can't just linger. I have till June to be out. And not in a yucky way. A weird way, but not yucky. But it was like, boom, thanks for the 100% confirmation, because in another, like, as though, even though I made my leap of faith and I believe that I'm not meant to be here, I was ready to be here. And I think maybe that's part of why it had to happen this way, is again the difference between free will and divine will, where what creator wants for me and what my higher self wants for me and what I can pick and choose is, two different things. And also, it wasn't about me. I had the balls to write the email. I wanted to, and I listened to my angels when they said, no, don't, not right yet. There's something else that needs to be done. And it was that he needed to have the courage to tell me himself that he needed it. Again, depending on how your sign, synchronicity, how your relationship with your angels are, and how you communicate with your higher self, it might all sound like, what is she talking about? But sometimes in the universe, you can be ready for something, but someone else has to learn something and make a move. You can't make the move faster than what the universe wants it to be. Does that make sense? I'm not sure. So it was my role to make the mental, I'm going to leap of faith and do what you ask. But it wasn't my role to write the email and tell him. It was his role to have the courage to talk to me about it. So that was pretty cool. And I literally speak to him, like I said, the way I'll speak to you. And he knows he at one point this winter when we were talking, he's like, I'm going to stop calling you a weirdo. And I was like, why? I like it. It's okay. I am. And I am my 100% weirdo self with you, John. So that you nickname me weirdo doesn't hurt my feelings. And it's true. And he's like, no, I'm going to stop. I'm just going to call you Michelle. I was like, okay. So when I wrote to him today saying the universe is pushing me to make a choice, and I know I need to be out of here by June, and I'm glad that you need it, and you'll get it, you'll get your nest, and I'll put my energy in, and it'll be awesome for him when he does have it. And like I said, I was like, my whole family knows this, and anybody who knows me knows that, knows me knows, it's a lot of noses, that my wildest dream is to have my own motorhome, be on the highway, and then make my way to the sea, how the winds lead me. I was like, so I might as well just tell you. And I was like, because he always asks me, how are you going to do this? And I was like, I always tell him, I don't know how I'm going to do things. I just do them, John. And that's very hard for him to comprehend because he's got the linear mind and has always, it's like he doesn't even know how magical he is at all. But he's like a complete alchemist. It's really cool. And so I wrote, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know blah, blah, blah. I don't know this. I don't know that. But I just know I'm going to do it. And his response to me was, oh my gosh. And I says, I know you're going to roll your eyes at this. And then I said my thing. And then he writes back to me, he's like, how do you know I'm rolling my eyes? You're such a weirdo. And you need a blah, blah, blah foot motorhome with a gay man who is like complete 100% tolerance for your weirdness. And I thought the gay man reference, because he keeps saying that to me, you need to find yourself a gay man. And I think that's funny because in his own way, he doesn't even understand that he's saying I need to have a man that's completely balanced in his masculine and feminine. And for him, that's a gay guy. And for me, that's the ultimate man. Anyways, I digress about speaking about men. I mention it just because he did. I thought that was cool. And really funny. Like, I almost peed myself laughing because he's so funny. Yeah, it's been a cool day. I went by guidance to the places of things I needed to do. And in Canadian Tire, go there to buy cat litter because they sell it in a bigger quantity than they do in other stores. So usually I get a bag because a bag is easier to manipulate when it's like really heavy. But today they only had a box. So I grabbed the box and I told the kid, I was like, holy fuck, this is really heavy. Hold, like anchor the shopping cart so that when I put the box in, the shopping cart doesn't go flying. It was 22 kilograms, which I can hold, but to bring it up almost as high as me, like the shopping cart comes to like really high on me, like past my waist, like way past, like, yeah, really high. Like it's not to my neck, but lower down. And so I had to hike up the 22 kilo box, like poof, and put it into the cart. And I guess when I did, I made a funny sound. You know, when you're, it's like when you're at the gym and you make funny sounds. And a man actually heard it and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. I got it. And he's like, "You sounded like a puppy." And I was like, "Oh, cool." I was like, "It's funny. Sound like a puppy, but I'm buying cat litter." So we started to laugh and we had a cool conversation. And part of the conversation was like, "What is 22 kilos anyways?" I was like, "I work in pounds." Like, and then he asked my daughter and I was like, I know she's really big, but she's only 7 and she's homeschooled and we haven't got to the kilos and pounds yet. And he's like, "You should teach her kilos because that's what Canada has." And I was like, "I don't know how I'm going to wrap my brain around kilos." And then he's like, "If you want to work in pounds, you got to move to America." And I was like, "Oh, really? Do they do pounds? Cool." And then he's like, "Would you move to America?" And I was like, "I don't know. I had a dream the other day, well, a couple months ago, that I was in America." And he's like, I had a conversation with the most racist motherfucker I've ever had, but not mean, not using bad terms, just he was so racist about certain things. And again, it wasn't in a like using a slang, yucky language, but it was just like, and he was like totally down, like bad about Americans. And I was like, yeah, I don't really perceive like any of the world like the way the news says it. I was like, I have a bird's eye view of pretty much not the whole globe because of people that travel. And I was like, pretty much everything you think about any country because you have watched the news is a lie. And so we got to talking about things in the States that my sister, you know, like the way that in Mississippi people can actually carry a gun. And one of my questions to my sister was like, does it feel weird to have lunch and then, you know, people around you have a gun? And she's like, no. And one of the first things my sister did, because we were raised with guns in the sense of like, I love to shoot a gun. Freaking do. I've shot rifles since I was a kid for fun. I've never killed anything. And I got to shoot a handgun once. We had a police officer that was actually a narc in our family, and he brought his gun. Like, not maybe supposed to tell all these stories. I don't think he was allowed to, but he let us shoot. So I got to shoot a handgun once. And my sister, the first thing she did when she got to Mississippi was to go to the shooting range and to go see the planes, like the Top Gun style planes. Really cool. And she sent me videos of the sounds. Like, I love it. And she would go like at lunch almost every day to the shooting range just to shoot guns. But so, and then he got on the topic of certain races, let's just say. And I don't see people that way, but he did. And I was wondering, I was like, the whole time I'm kind of like listening to him, watching my child, how she's reacting because her brother and sister are half of what he's saying, but he don't know that. And stepbrother and sister, but I don't count that. And I was asking my angels, like, why are you guiding me to this? And at the same time, I was looking at him and his aura. And when I say I see nobody as sheep and nobody as unawakened, he was glowing. And he's waking up all the time. And when I asked my angels, like, what is this about? Like, do you want me to plant a seed and start to preach? And they were like, nope. It was to see through why he thought this way. And he's scared. He's afraid of certain types of people. And I thought it was really neat to be guided to that in the sense that it wasn't like, did I plant a lot of seeds? Yeah. but not one that, like, when he left, he had the balls to like touch me on the shoulder and say, "Have a good day, honey. Thanks for the conversation." And I took it. He needed to touch me. It's my energy sometimes, and when it's appropriate, I give it out. And I was like, "Thank you." Like, it was awesome. And I've never been one, like, actually, I have, to like go fucking spider monkey, fucking batshit when somebody will be racist. But at the same time, I've learned with time that by just how I react and am more calm and just kind of go with it, let somebody talk how they want, but speak how I want, my truth, that it plants better seeds. It's more fertile ground. Then the next thing that happened to me that was kind of synchronistic is that Bravery Clark 00D, my homie Darren, and I don't remember if it was where I wrote it, but I says to him one time that when you're small like me, you got to learn to be like fucking a climber. That when you go to the grocery store, some of the good stuff's really high up, so you got to climb in a fridge, climb in a fucking freezer, or climb shelves to fucking get shit. So today, as I was doing some groceries, there was like a lady who was like small like me, who was asking a man who was tall like D, and he helped her for free. I just had to make all that rhyme. He helped her for free, just for fun. And when I saw that happening, I was like, "Oh, thanks, dude. You're so cool to help." And then I actually told of how I had just written that to somebody or said that to somebody in a comment somewhere or whatever. The way that it flowed was fun. And so me and the lady ended up having like a conversation about how this one time I was in a grocery store with my ex, and there was someone in a wheelchair, and it was a man, and he was hot as fuck. And he just happened to be hot as fuck. It's no big deal. I was with my man. But when I walked by and I saw that this guy in a wheelchair was looking up, I was like, "You okay, dude? You need help? Or like, what's going on?" And he was like, "Yeah, I do need help. The stuff I want's way too high up for me. I can't get to it." And I was like, "Oh, those fucking people. That's just so fucking rude. Like, people don't even realize, eh?" And so I helped him. And then I said, I was like, "Do you need me to want me to like walk around with you and help you like anywhere else?" And he's like, "No, I know where my other stuff is and I know I'm good." I was like, "Cool, okay, well, have a good day." And then when I turned back to my, man at the time, ex, he was mad. He was pissed at me. He was jealous. And I could feel it and taste it. That's the thing, eh? When you feel shut, it isn't just like a feeling. You can actually taste it sometimes. He was jealous. And I looked at him and I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Are you going to help everybody in the store?" What the fuck? And I was like, "Well, if they're in a fucking wheelchair and they need me to, yeah, I'll stay here all fucking day and you can go home." Like, what the fuck? Don't be asking why I ain't with my ex. Like, what the fuck? That was like so like low. Like, what? Because the guy happened to be like young and good looking. Like, and then what he tells me, my ex is like, "I actually know that guy." And I was like, "You do?" And he's like, "Yeah, I know the circumstances of his accident." And he says, he's like, "Yeah, because he had that accident at work, he got a really good payment, and now he even has a truck and everything to like lift his wheelchair, and like he's got the best rig in town for helping him." And he said it with envy and with jealousy and with like this yuckiest thing. And I was like, "Well, good if he got good compensation." Do you know how hard it is? And some people like never get what they deserve, and they are like fucking homeless after. Like, Chris, are you fucking like kidding me with your jealousy here? This was in the last months we were together, truly. Again, when I always vibed at my certain frequency of certain things and was able, he hid his frequency of things or didn't say out loud. So I would feel certain things, but then it was getting more verbal. It was weird. Yeah, that was fucked. And by having a daddy and a grandpa who both had their burn accidents were both at work. So I know to what point as a child, like, we could have lost everything if my dad hadn't gotten the compensation he deserved for, like, what happened to him as an accident. And my dad's accident was so bad, so fucking fucked up, that when we got to the hospital, I was 15, my sister was 11, and my mom was whatever age, the priest was coming out of the fucking room. The priest had just given him his last rites. My dad is alive today and has already had his last rites. And he said the priest and the doctor had already decided before we got to the hospital that it was imperative and 100% necessary that me, my sister, no matter what age we were, go in and see my father the way that he was, because it was the last time we would ever see our father. And I'm here to tell you, no matter how good movies are, they don't compare to what a real burn and when it's your own daddy looks like. Like, I don't even know how many years it took me to fucking get over the trauma of seeing my father like that. He didn't look like my father at all. At all. And movies are very insensitive to traumas. There's rape scenes everywhere, and they're just, like, gratuitous. It's no big deal. There's, like, fucking explosions and people fucking flying on fire everywhere, and it's no big deal. There's car accident scenes everywhere, and it's no big deal. But if you've been in a car accident and ejected from a car, and then you see that, fucking triggery. And for me, I would go see a movie. I would try to, check what it was about to make sure there was no fucking burn scenes. So that all of a sudden, like, fucking blow up shit where you see somebody, like, fucking on fire and fucking running and stuff, I would fall into almost a panic attack, fucking pass out, like, whether it was the theater or I was at somebody's house. My scream was like fucking, busting other people's eardrums, because I was not prepared to see those things, was not even willing to, and just all of a sudden it happens in a movie. Like, I avoided action movies for fucking years because of the fact of that. Anyways, it's fucked up. Yeah, so my daddy was read his last rites. We were told he would not live. Then a week later, when, oh my God, he's still alive, we were told, your father's going to live, but he's going to lose his arm, and he's going to be a vegetable all his life. 2 weeks later, we were told, wow, we've never seen a recovery like this. We think his arm's going to be okay. We'll see in the next 2 months, but he will still be a vegetable all his life. Month and a half, 2 months later, when he was released from the hospital, the burn unit in Toronto, they were like, wow, we've never seen a recovery like this. He'll only be able to do a desk job after rehab. And because he had to relearn how to use his arm, he had to, like, the skin grafts had to catch, and he will never be able to go in the sun again, as what the predictions were. Well, within the time that he was rehabilitated enough to go do the desk job, he was going batshit at the desk job, and my mom and dad changed their life. They moved back to Quebec. I stayed in Ontario alone to finish high school. And, they bought a restaurant. He ran it. He did, it was a restaurant that was in the woods with maple trees. So he would go and tap those trees with lines and, be on the skidoo. And within 2 years, he was tanning the same way he had all his life. And my dad is 65, 66 or 67 now. I don't know. I don't really care. And in the last 10 years, he has gone to sail around Greece and Croatia and like that sea. He has gone to was it Swiss Alps? I forget, but climbed those. He has been to Alaska and climbed those mountains. He has climbed mountains in BC. He kayaks. He does like, he's like so fucking physically fit that most teenagers can't fucking keep up with him. So that's one of the reasons that I am how I am, is because in my young life I had the example of Miracle, and that's only one of them. It just happens to be like the most like closest story to my heart because it's my dad. And I never believed what doctors will say, because doctors told me my dad was gonna die, and then he didn't. And then they told me he would lose his arm, and then he didn't. And then they told me he would never go in the sun, and he's like a sun baby. So yeah, um, depending on what life you've led, you might have never seen miracles or never like even been triggered by them. Or for me, those things changed my perception of what medical, what doctors know and what they say, and what's real, and what's the power of like healing and family. And yeah, I babbled on, and I wanted to say my other thing. I didn't even mean to talk about that. But my other thing that happened to me today is I was guided to go to a thrift shop that I never go to because it's like kind of more expensive than usual. I found the coolest fucking like superhero dress. I'm not even gonna fucking describe it. That's mine. And when I, oh my god, so amazing. When I tried it on to make sure it was like actually for me, and it was like, it is for me, I was like, where's the footwear that goes with it? And I found the coolest fucking footwear. Again, that's for me. If you're ever to see it, you'll fucking see it. But I came out of that store being like, oh, and they even had paper bags, like old school, like it wasn't a plastic bag, it was a paper bag. And one other sink that like basically knocked me to my fucking knees, and I'm not talking about that one either because I don't want it. So it's been a really fucking cool day. And titanium, still seeing titanium everywhere. Not as much because other words are coming up like more. It's like, you already know the titanium sink, which I don't know exactly what it means. But even if it was just to go get the song to fucking prove to. Does anybody else know this Lost Boys song by Ruth B? Is Ruth B Canadian or is she international? I don't know. First time I heard this song by Ruth B, Lost Boys, I pulled over and I started crying like a fucking baby. Why? Because a part of me was jealous. I didn't write it. That didn't last long. It was just like, holy fuck, I could have wrote that, because I've always considered myself a lost boy. And the fact that a woman sings it, like, just brought me to my knees. Like, I fucking had to pull over. I was like crying so fucking hard. It was so powerful. Love this song. Anyways, babbled on long enough. I always manage to like talk so much, and that's the funny thing is, you see my videos and you're like, oh my god, fucking holy shit, she talks a lot. But I really am in silence, and that's another thing that freaks fucking people like the fuck out about me, is that I don't need to talk, and I can be in silence for like a long time and be really comfortable within that silence. So it's like two extremes, right? You get like giggly, like jumpy, like all like me. And then all of a sudden, like everybody's asking me, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? Because I'm not saying anything. And I don't know. If I was on like that all the time, like it wouldn't work. It's like the balance of both. I don't know. Maybe others don't consider balance, but I'm used to it. It's just how I am. Anyways, I'm out of here. Have a good day, night, evening, wherever you are.